that might come.
Good
Or
point.
that might not come.
Very good point.
Mhm.
Very good point. There's always a reason for everything. Everything happens for a reason. But the reason why I talk about those two experiences about disappointment is because all the highs and all the successes and all the the accolades and things of that nature, I literally was just recognized for almost 30 years of being in the music business for the first time 2 weeks ago. And I'm just like, thank God there were things along the way that kept me going.
Right.
But you can't do it for the pats on the back.
Yeah.
You got to do it because you're in it,
Right.
because you want to do it. Yes, having pats on the back is great.
Yeah, it's motivating.
But it's definitely motivating.
Mm-hmm.
It's encouraging, especially when things feel like they're closing in on you.
Mm-hmm.
When the industry is changing around you and you don't know what the hell's next, and you're
Yeah.
like, I hope that in 2 weeks I'm still relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, I keep on being involved with projects that allow me to be relevant. Your network is your net worth. I hadn't talked to somebody. I hadn't seen them in 13 years and hadn't probably talked to them in 5. They called me and asked me to work with Chance the Rapper.
Mm.
I was like, this was 2 years ago. They were doing the tribute to Muhammad Ali on the ESPY Awards.
Right.
They needed somebody to help. And I was just like, yeah, sure. And then we turned around and did the Grammy 6 months later.
God is good.
But this kind of stuff happens to me all the time because I do believe that I made a bunch of investments.
Mm-hmm.
I paid into a bank, continues to pay off, and that's why I say my net worth is my net worth. Those two things, just talk about disappointment. The worst thing that's ever really happened. It's funny, because I tend to look at things that are even bad
Mm-hmm.
as learning experiences and things of that nature. I don't really have this bucket of things that like was so bad that that it really threw me off of my game long term.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you one last story. So I wear this ring.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. People go, oh, you're married? No, I'm not, actually. But this ring is a reminder of some of the darkest times in American history.
Mm-hmm.
It was 2000. So
Okay.
Brenda Russell, it was 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Brenda Russell album had been overshadowed by Jill Scott's success,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we decided to take another swing at it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a song on the record I love called Walking in New York.
Okay.
So it was a little kind of Latin tinge thing, and so one of her good friends was Mary Wilson from the Supremes,
Mm-hmm.
and another one of her good friends was Lisa Fisher, who sang with Luther Vandross, but also won a Grammy for How Can I Ease the Pain. So anyway, so they came with this great treatment, and we actually did it in Fort Greene in Brooklyn. So it was like a stand-in for Harlem.
Mm.
And we did this video. It was shot by Chris Robinson's protege, Risa. And it was actually my first time appearing in a music video. If you go back, you see me, I had a huge afro. And I'm in the crowd. You need
Yeah.
people to fill up the streets. So they were like,
In the-
Thornell,
in
come
the
be in the
background.
video, right? So, did the video. We're ready to launch the video. We booked Brenda for the world premiere and the interview on the Ananda show, which was hot,
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a couple different layers to this story, and I haven't really ever told it before.
Oh, we got an exclusive, ladies and gentlemen.
So I'm going to tell you, yeah, I'll save parts of it for the book. But I'm squabbling
Mm-hmm.
with the label management, and I'm just like, okay, we need to do this to launch this record. I mean, I tell people, independent artists, this is a note for you, breaking the fourth wall. You always need something bigger than you to pull you along, particularly when you're underfunded. Back in the day when you used to be able to write a check for advertising, you could do that. And nowadays, there's just too much clutter. So you got to find something bigger than yourself to pull you along. So we were this label. We were rubbing two nickels together. We spent this money on this music video, and I needed a national platform to launch the video, or else the same thing was going to happen again.
Right.
We wouldn't get the pop that we needed. So
Yeah.
I made the decision
Mm-hmm.
to send Brenda to New York
Mm-hmm.
to be on the Ananda show.
Okay.
And I would fly in the next day in order to meet her there in time for the taping.
Mm-hmm.
In typical Thornell Jones fashion, I was late for my plane,
Oh man.
which was direct to JFK. So, at the time, you were able to change your flight. So I just rerouted myself through DC.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'll still get there in the morning. It'll be great, because I was taking the red eye.
Yeah.
So, get on the plane, get to DC. But there was like an hour and a half, so they let us deplane. So I'm in the airport, and okay, time to get on the plane. So we get on the back of the plane, getting ready to leave DC from Dulles to go to New York.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sitting there, and we're sitting there. We're sitting there, and we're sitting there. And they're like, okay, ladies and gentlemen, New York airspace is closed, so we're not going to be able to fly to New York, so you have to find an alternate way to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody else said, oh yeah, I just got a text from my husband that a plane flew into the World Trade Center.
Oh wow.
And
This was that day.
I said, oh, you know, people used to climb the World Trade Center. Cessnas used to fly around. And I saw some idiot, right? So we get into the lobby, and there's CNN the airport network,
Mm-hmm.
and you see the World Trade Center. You see the smoke coming out of the building, and I was like, terrorism.
Oh my God.
I said, this is terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I got to get to New York. Brenda is in New York, and
Mhm.
I'm in D.C., and I have to get to New York.
Right.
So I go down, get to the Washington Flyer, which is the cab company. I said, you got to take me into the city. Get in the cab, going into the city, and as we're coming down this big highway, it's like some 15 lanes coming from Reston into the city. All these black cars are coming past.
Mhm.
I felt like I was in a spy movie.
Right.
Right? We come around the corner, and off to the right is the Pentagon,
Mm.
with a big black plume of smoke coming out of the Pentagon. And I was like, oh my God, it is terrorism.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Oh,
get into
man.
the city. People are streaming out of the buildings like in a disaster movie.
Yeah.
I said to myself, oh my God, what is happening?
Right.
So I go to the subway, and they're like, the subway is closed. And everybody's standing around trying to figure out what's going on. And then the subway opens. So I said, okay, let me get to Union Station. So I get to Union Station. I come out of the subway. I go to the guy, the fire marshal's there with a little hat and this little uniform. Union Station is closed.
Mm.
Find alternate ways home. 10,000 people standing out in front of the Union Station.
Oh my
Don't
God.
know where to go.
That's
So I said,
crazy.
okay, I'll take the bus. So if you know anything about where Union Station is,
Mm.
8th Street goes along the side of it, and you just kind of walk up there, and maybe about a half mile up the way is the bus station.
Yeah.
So I get a few hundred yards. And on my way there, I stop, and I'm listening to somebody has a shortwave radio, and you're hearing what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the smoke is done, the people are screaming, the firemen are doing this, that, and that. I'm going, oh my God, what's going on? I go a couple hundred yards up the street, maybe not 100 yards, in this, I don't know if he was Muslim, but he was like one of those spiritual brothers just wearing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
dashiki or something, and a kufi, and smelled like shapa.
Yeah, like incense.
Incense, right?
Yeah.
He says, where you heading, my brother?
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm going to go get the bus. And he says, well, where you headed? I said, I'm going to New York. He says, well, you're not going to be able to get past Baltimore. They shut down the highway past Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
I said, oh, okay. Well, fortunately, I have relatives in D.C. My sister lives in Tacoma Park in Maryland. My dad lives in Annapolis. So it wasn't like I was stranded. But for the next 2 days, because, well, actually, there's more. I go back to get on the subway so I can go to my sister's house.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm standing there, and those people who were listening to shortwave radio were still listening to shortwave radio. So I joined this little circle of people who were listening to the shortwave radio.
Mm-hmm.
And while we're standing there, then the announcer says, Tower 2 is down. Tower 2 is down.
Oh, man.
The World Trade Center are no more. And I burst into tears.
Yeah, man, that's crazy.
And I was standing there because I remember as a little kid in Brooklyn visiting my uncle and my aunt
Mm-hmm.
in Williamsburg,
Yeah.
watching them build the World Trade Center.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these two towers that went. I was just like, oh my God, they're gone.
Yeah.
So
Time.
I get to New York,
Mm-hmm.
finally on Thursday, and my first order of business is finding Brenda Russell at her hotel because she's been missing for 2 days, because nobody can reach her, because the cell phone towers are out, because the World Trade Center is down.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew what she was saying, so I went to her hotel room. They didn't want to let me up, and I was just like, you have to let me. So I go to her door, I knock on her door, and she opens the door, and she says, oh my God, thank you. And so we had a hug right there, whatever. She tells me the story, of her experience for the last 2 days, right? So now that I know that she's okay, I end up going to my hotel.
Mm.
I'm standing in the middle of Madison Avenue.
Okay.
Newspapers are blowing down Madison Avenue like tumbleweed.
Mm.
Because everyone is so scared, they're inside their homes.
Right.
And everyone is afraid to come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up...
Yeah, we moved.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, from New York. I was in Jersey at the time. My parents were in New York, but when it happened, like literally a couple months, Florida.
My best friends who lived in Brooklyn, because the plume, the smoke plume went from Manhattan because of the wind over to Brooklyn, and they were like, "Oh, we're not being in this toxic fumes," so they actually left and moved to upstate New York.
Mm-hmm.
So probably about Friday, the mayor's like, "We know everybody's traumatized. You have to try to get out and try to go back to normal. We don't know what normal is yet, but you can't be paralyzed. We are in New York. We got to get out."
Got to work.
So my friends and I went for dinner in the West Village. And when I came out of the subway, there was a guy there, the street vendor, selling jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought this ring in remembrance of that time.
Mm.
And I've worn this ring since September 13th, 2001.
Mm.
So this is my reminder. This is my reminder that I'm a New Yorker, but it's also a reminder of a really traumatic time in history. Sometimes I wonder if I made the right decision, because it was, trust me, it was crazy, because some people didn't know that I had actually sent Brenda to New York. Right? They didn't find out that after it had already happened that she was there and had gone through all this stuff, and they were scared for me, because they knew that I was supposed to fly on the red eye to New York, and so it wasn't until I showed up like a day later that they knew that I was okay.
Yeah.
So it was a real, what we call clusterfuck.
Yeah.
But what they say, all is well does end well, but it was like there were so many lessons I learned in there, and just being so involved in that experience. A lot of people, it's abstract for people who weren't in New York or in that area at the time. It's our country was attacked, the patriotism and things of that nature. But there were people who lost their lives. There were people who lost their spouses. What a really good friend of mine was working for American Express in the World Trade Tower. They would rotate who would go get breakfast.
Right.
It was his turn.
Wow.
He's the only one who lived.
That's crazy, man.
Crazy.
Yeah, my friend of my aunt's used to work there, and she told me that he was late to work that day. So he was in the train station the whole time it was happening. It was fortunate enough for he was late, but still unfortunate for everybody else, So that's crazy, man.
So the good stuff is high, 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 and the low stuff is low, low, low. But in the end, though, it's just my life.
Yeah.
It's my life. It's something that I chose, or maybe it chose me.
Either way, you surviving through it.
Hell, So here we are in October of 2018.
What's next for you?
That's a good question. Well, I'm really excited about what's happening with our company. We are doing some really awesome things, working with some really awesome artists. I'm kind of bi-coastal again. I'm working with this label out of New York called Isotopia Records. It was started by this opera singer. She's really cool. She's actually from Ohio. Really down to earth, and she's an artist, and I really enjoy working with her so much. But she started this label as a vehicle to put out an album for herself. So, not that it was opera. She wanted to do a pop record. So, she did what I call art pop. It's kind of like maybe something Barbra Streisand would do.
Okay.
So it's really tasteful, but really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a success. She had over 4 million spins on Spotify.
Nice.
You know? And so then she decided to do these other groups. So one is called Baby Raptors. They're kind of like a retro 80s pop, indie pop group, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're from Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
And then so Constance Howman, who started the label, she's a great musician, got great ears, great musical taste, whatever. She actually built a whole band situation around this other singer, and the band is called Miss Velvet and the Blue Wolf.
Mm.
Imagine, if you would, Janis Joplin meets Steven Tyler meets Mick Jagger.
Interesting combination, but I
With
can tell a lot of greatness will come from it.
funky rock music. I am having so much fun working this music because, after, 25 years of, being in the R&B lane, it's fun to have new challenges and to, meet new people and do new things. So that's really exciting for me, at this juncture of my career, to be able to do this. And it's great to be able to still pick up the phone and be able to say, hey, I'm doing this thing. And people go, oh, that's really cool. And then, I posted something. We had this Grammy mixer last week with her, and did a showcase thing at the Viper Room, and posted these pictures. I got K-Rock liking my stuff, and somebody else. I was floored. I was like,
awesome,
what?
man.
What? Yeah, so it's exciting. It's kind of like, just when, your friends are retiring, it's like, you got a whole nother chapter unfolding in front of you, right? I'm just completely, totally excited. So myself, my business partner, Allison Perkins Thomas, who has great experience in sponsorship marketing and nonprofit management, having worked with the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation and stuff. We're just taking our relationships, our know-how, and our passion for, good, quality, positive music, forward into the new year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's great, man. Keep counting those blessings, because I'm sure there's more to come, man. And where can people get in contact with you? Where can they follow you or gain your services?
Cool. Well, if you want to know about the services, you should go to our website. It's theovationagency.com. You can follow us, our business page, at The Ovation Agency on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you want to follow me personally, you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Thornell J.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Facebook, it's Thornell Jones Jr. So that's how you find us. We have a whole engine on the website. So if you want a consultation, just put your information in there. It sends us a message, and we can do a chat. We can do a call. We can do in-person consultation. We can put together a whole retreat. It's like, let's say a label needs a strategy meeting. We can pull somebody in from radio, from the 6 channels, radio, retail, press, video, whatever. We sit around the table and conceive, what you should be doing after listening to the music. We try to, be at 30,000 feet and kind of put together strategy and not just tactics. It's so easy to say, oh, I need somebody to do social media. Well, what's your messaging?
Exactly.
Where what are the themes? What are the things you want to tell people? What's your competitive advantage? What's your point of differentiation in the marketplace? And how is that translate into your messaging and to your content and all that kinds of things? And sometimes people get way down the road and don't understand why the stuff that they're communicating isn't sticky.
Mm-hmm.
It's not moving the needle at all.
Right.
I got an acquaintance who wanted to work with me, and just the messaging was all over the place, and was putting out this EP, and I was just and was doing some really innovative things, but the messaging wasn't there. And I started looking at and you got over 80,000 followers on Instagram, and then when you look at the engagement, the engagement's not where it should be.
Right.
You know, if you have real fans, you have 80,000 people, you should get 8,000 likes.
Exactly.
Right? And you're getting 1,000, 1,200. Right?
Yeah.
Something's wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Something's wrong. So you got to get to 30,000 feet and really put together your strategy. And this is what we preach. But it's not like we're all pie in the sky too, because I'm sitting there, you know, scheduling posts and, you know, responding to things and, you know, doing the things that have to happen in order to get the butts in the seats.
Right.
You know, we're throwing some a Grammy mixer in 2 weeks for this R&B artist, and you know, I just approved a venue today. We're approving menus and we're inviting people, and there's going to be Grammy voters in the room.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I think the beauty of having the experience that I've had versus maybe what some other people have had. In their careers is being able to be at 30,000 feet, but also be able to be in the nuts and bolts.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons why we were able to stay so competitive at Hidden Beach for so long, was because not only was I doing the stuff for the label, but I had my own roster of clients, and I had to continue to keep the knife sharpened.
Right.
Right? When, after Jill Scott blew up in 2000, 2001, all my friends were like, okay, now it's time for you to leave and go get a big label job.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no. I like what we're doing here. I like what Steve is doing with this company. I like the vision. I like the fact that we're about quality music. I like the fact that there's a spiritual underpinning to what we're doing here. And so that's why I stayed.
Mm-hmm.
So while my friends were making $350,000, I was making a fraction of that. But understanding that I was not doing it for the money. I was doing it because I was in service of the music and something bigger.
Right, and you're making it happen, man. Oh man, I feel like this needs to be a conversation for another day because I have so many questions, man.
Well, you have an open door, you know that. This has been so unusual and wonderful and amazing on so many different levels. Thank you for allowing me just to talk.
Thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to interview you, man. I mean, like I said, it's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to do this, and we got the opportunity to knock it out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. I appreciate your time. This has been another episode of Sleepers for Billionaires, the podcast. Once again, I'm Johnny Vegas.
I'm Thornell Jones Jr.
There he is, man. Stay tuned for more episodes to come. Thank you for watching.